Welcome to Straightforward Conversation with Gary Hunter. My guest tonight is Larry Hunter, the head basketball coach at Ohio University. Larry's a lifelong resident of Athens County and currently, as I said, the head basketball coach of Ohio University. He has a lifetime winning record of 414 wins and 145 losses in 19 years for a winning percentage of 74%. He has the distinction of being the first coach in NCAA history to win a national championship in his first year as head basketball coach. And he's been named the National Basketball Coach of the Year and twice named the Ohio Coach of the Year. Larry has a bachelor and master's degree from Ohio University, and he's a frequent lecturer both on the national and international scene. Welcome, Larry.
Good evening, Gary.
Tonight I'd like to talk about Ohio University basketball. And just want to take the program and see where it goes. Larry, let's start off with what is your philosophy of the program here at Ohio University?
Well, we want to operate the program with great integrity. The young men that we want to bring in the program, we'd like to think that in the 4 or 5 years that they would be here at Ohio University, that one, that they're going to earn a degree from Ohio University. Two, that we're going to try to help them be the best basketball players that they can be. And then hopefully that they'll grow as people during that process.
How do you go about marketing, say, Ohio University to a basketball player?
Well, the marketing, I think the best thing we can do, Gary, in terms of marketing is win a lot of games. Last year when we had the run where we won the preseason NIT, that was the best thing we could do in terms of getting people excited about Ohio University basketball and getting them to come to the games. But there are other things that we do. Certainly it starts with our athletics director, Dr. Tom Bay, and he this year, he's new at Ohio University. This is his first year, and he has a great background coming from Northwestern, and he's had similar positions as an assistant and associate AD with marketing promotions background. But so he's kind of exciting in some of the new things that he's doing. But we've started the Ohio Sports Network, which is a radio TV network, and the last couple of years, and we have 13 radio stations that are on our network, and they carry all of our games live. We have 5 TV affiliates, and we produce 5 games this year. We hope to go to 10 next year. And then, of course, you have your schedule cards, your posters, media guides. I think we have a budget for advertising. Then you have your halftime, pregame promotions. I have a radio TV show, a number of different things like that we get into. Then we have special nights where we try to attract different types of people, to the combo for those special evenings.
When you're looking for basketball players, are you looking primarily in the Ohio region or outside of Ohio? Where do you look for the players that you bring to Ohio University?
Well, I think we would basically say it's national recruiting, but our emphasis is here in the Midwest, Western Pennsylvania, certainly the entire state of Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Michigan. Although we do have some outreach in this day and age, because it's so competitive to get quality Division I student athletes in basketball that you can't limit yourself. In the 7 years I've been here, probably as many as 70% of our players have been from the state of Ohio. Since I've recruited and networked here in the Midwest this is my 25th year of college coaching, that's where our basis of recruiting is going to stem from. But now we have in the program, we have 2 young men from Milwaukee, Corey Reed and Deontay Fenoro. Basically, we discovered those people because of the AAU tournaments that go on all summer long, and you travel to those and you see players that you like, and you establish contacts with their high school coaches or with AAU coaches, and you establish a relationship with an individual or a coach or a player and his family, and they come and look at Ohio University. They like what you have to offer, and one thing leads to another, and you'll occasionally get some people outside of the state. And we have a number of those. Matt Jaggers from San Diego, California area. Ed Sears, coming from a junior college, was originally from Brooklyn, New York. Paul Morris is from Arizona. So we do have some out-of-state people, and it's kind of is national recruiting, but our primary emphasis each year is going to be in the state of Ohio.
What kind of a network do you have for finding players? How do you? I mean, obviously there's lots and lots of players out there. How do you, and you can't be up on everyone that's doing well in high school. How do you find these players?
Well, we can't be up on everyone. You're right, Gary. But boy, we're up on a lot of them. I have a staff. Jason G, of course, is my associate coach. Mike Elfers and Dana Loy and Jeff Bowles make up our staff, and they're tremendous people. They're great workers, and recruiting is a never-ending job. Even though we gave away our 2 scholarships or signed 2 players in the fall for next year's class, we have been working all year long on identifying juniors, sophomores, and believe it or not, even some freshmen that we're going to monitor, try to evaluate, and then try to recruit. We are what you would call maybe a mid-major type of basketball program. By that I mean, we don't necessarily have all the resources in terms of budget, conference recognition, TV packages that a Big Ten conference or ACC conference or Big East conference might have. But we still have to attract, players of that caliber, because we play those people, and you have to play those people if you're going to win, the NCAA Division I title. So, our coaches, we subscribe to scouting services. There are a number of those. As I mentioned, in the summer, we go to AAU events. We see a lot of high school games. My coaches spend enormous hours on the phone researching prospective student athletes. We constantly are getting people who recommend players to us, and we follow up and evaluate those people. Then we invite top prospects to campus for unofficial visits in the fall to see the campus, get to meet us personally. We'll do that with sophomores and juniors, and just to try to establish initial contact. And then, of course, that process narrows itself down to where you zero in on your top 50, top 20, and then hopefully you'll bring 4 or 5 to campus for an official visit, and then eventually sign 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on what your needs are for that particular year.
Are there certain high school basketball programs in Ohio that you monitor more than others that consistently produce quality players that you might be interested in for Ohio University?
Well, no question. There are pockets of leagues, of schools, that produce year in and year out, quality basketball players. They have some great programs, in the Cincinnati area, in the Columbus area, in the Toledo area. And, we're so blessed here in the state of Ohio that, the high school programs in the state of Ohio under the Ohio High School Athletic Association are so well developed, especially in the sport of basketball. They get such great teaching and development from the elementary schools, the junior high schools, the reserve programs, high school programs, that there's a lot of good basketball players. But the catch to that is everybody comes into the Midwest, into Ohio, and recruits. But there are those key programs, and we have a network of coaches who possibly I've had a player playing for me either at Wittenberg or here at Ohio University now, that we've possibly done a good job with, that coach has a good feel for what we stand for, how we treat people in our program, how the program's put together, and of course those people are key to help you get those players.
I know you coached for a long time in Division III basketball at Wittenberg University, and the audience may not be aware of what the difference is between, say, coaching at Wittenberg, which is a Division III school, I believe, and Ohio University, which is what's called a Division I school. Could you kind of tell us basically what the difference is?
Well, I'm laughing, Gary, because at the Division III level, I wore a lot of hats, probably like a high school coach would. I coached 2 different sports. I taught in the majors program every term. Even had work-study work grant workers 2 terms of the year. And every 5th year I had a freshman advisory class that you'd have anywhere for a year to a year and a half. And I had that every 5th year. So, you wore a lot of hats, and you coach, you didn't really have a lot of assistants. I think I was only a stretch of the 16 years I was at Wittenberg, I only had a full-time assistant, I think 3 of those years. So you had part-time assistants. You coached both the varsity and the JV team.
I believe you've even been known to drive the basketball team to a basketball game.
Well, they ruled that out after a while because they knew I couldn't stay awake. But here at Division I, it's a little bit different. The demands upon your time here are much greater in terms of public relations, media relations, speaking in alumni groups, speaking, service clubs, just media interviews, and it's just the intensity of recruiting is a little bit different, much greater.
Which is more fun?
Well, they were both fun. I enjoy coaching, so the most fun part for me is October 15th till hopefully the middle of March, end of March, when you're playing. And every day you can look forward to going to the practice floor for a couple hours and getting away from everything else, all those other distractions, and really getting with the kids and teaching and preparing your basketball team to be the best it can be. But that's cyclical. I enjoy the camps in the summer, and I enjoy the recruiting, although it's not a whole lot of fun to be traveling all over the place. But I enjoy the process of selling Ohio University, the process of selling our basketball program, what we're all about, and I think that's the key thing here at Ohio University. We have a great product to represent. I am just so excited about, when I go talk to a family, and it's a genuine because I've been through it. I played here. I have 2 degrees from here. I have a great feeling for what this institution stands for, the type of people who are here, the type of education that a young man can get here if he takes advantage of the opportunities. And the social campus atmosphere here is terrific, I think, for someone who wants to be able to concentrate on getting a degree and wants to be able to concentrate on being the best that you can be on the athletic floor.
Well, stay tuned. Larry and I will return after this commercial break, and when we come back, I want to ask Larry about his summer clinics and possibly about junior college transfer. Welcome back to Straightforward Conversation. Larry, before the break, I was about to ask you about summer clinics. We know, or at least I know, I don't know that the audience really knows that basketball coaching is not really just a 9-month job and you take the summers off. And I'm aware that you run a number of clinics in the summer. I'd like you to explain to the audience a little bit about what summer clinics are that you run, how they impact upon your program and assist you in getting players potentially.
Well, as soon as graduation's over there in the early part of June, we immediately start that next day, in fact, with our summer camp program. And we now are conducting I think 7 sessions. I think we have 3 sessions of about 2.5 days each of team camps where we bring in reserve and high school level teams, and they come with their coaches now. And you've only been allowed to do this the last 3 years in the state of Ohio. Other states across the country have been able to do it longer than that. But they come in with their coach, and they play 12 or 13 games in a 2.5 day period, and we have a competition for them with regular officials, scorekeepers, timers, and in those settings we don't do a whole lot of teaching. I think I lecture to them once a day. All the teams that we have in, we'll bring in 24 to 28 teams a session. And it's just a chance for them to improve and get outside competition in the summer, with their coaches actually coaching them. The other sessions, we have 2 what we call individual skill sessions, where we bring in youngsters 11 to 18, and we just teach the fundamentals of the game. And whether it be passing, catching, ball handling, dribbling, movement without the ball, post technique, then we teach them team play, some motion, things about motion offense, about team defense, man-to-man defense. And then we have some competition in those camps. They're involved in several games of 3-on-3 and several games of 5-on-5 each day. And we try to make that a lot of fun for them, but we're also heavily involved in teaching. And that's what I call my workers camp. We go from, again, about 8:30 in the morning till about 10 o'clock at night on the courts. And, of course, we break for lunch and dinner in there. But, the kids really, and that's usually a 4.5 day camp, and they get a lot of work in there. We have a specialty camp, a point guard postman camp for those respective type of players, and again that's a shortened 2.5 day camp where it's really concentrated again on teaching the fundamentals of those 2 particular parts of the game. But all told, we'll put through somewhere around 1,300 campers to our camp, and we get them from all over Ohio. A year ago we had some from New York, we had some from Florida, we had a couple students from over in Germany. So each summer it's kind of interesting to see where all they come from, but mostly they come from the state of Ohio, and primarily central Ohio and southeastern Ohio.
Are you always keeping a watchful eye for a potential OU basketball star among those groups?
Oh, sure you are. And over the years, it's fun to watch players who come back to your camp and see how they grow and develop and how their skills improve, and who's really, dedicated and serious about the game and how they develop. And occasionally we'll spot someone in there that we think has the potential to play at the Division I level and possibly at Ohio University. And of course, it never hurts to have been around them when they were developing, growing up, and establish a relationship with them.
Is it fair to say that sometimes a player that you bring to a camp as an 8 or 9-year-old will be the ugly duckling, awkward kid who, as a 13 or 14-year-old, has matured into a significant prospect?
Well, I think it's always, you got to be careful about being too premature in evaluating who can play and who can't at a very early age. Obviously, it's easy for everyone to see the very talented individual. But you never know. You take Jason Terry, for example. He came to Ohio University 7 feet, but he continued to grow to 7'2½". Well, he was the same way when he was growing up, and he didn't actually start playing basketball until he was a freshman in high school. And even at that time, he was very awkward and didn't have a lot of self-confidence, and was really a little bit ashamed of being so much taller than everybody else. Didn't have a lot of strength. But as he had a very patient high school coach who really took and spent some time with him and helped make him a better athlete, got him a little stronger, taught him some things about the game, and he's going to end up playing some professional basketball, whether it be overseas or eventually back into the NBA. So you just never know how things are going to turn out. If you looked at Geno Ford, Gary, when he was maybe even a high school freshman, people doubted if he could ever play.
You're not going to tell me he grew 3 inches by the time he was in high school.
But when he came into Ohio U, I think for the first couple of years he was here, I always find myself having to defend Geno Ford because you can't win with a little 5'6" guard. Coach, you got to go recruit somebody bigger. And of course, the last 2 years now, everybody now thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, and he's a great player.
You got to have heart then. You're looking for players that have desire as well as ability then.
Well, you look for skill, obviously. That's the first thing in terms of your recruiting for this level. But as Woody Hayes always said, I think he wrote a book about it. You win with quality people. And if you're going to do the things that we want to do here in our basketball program over a consistent period of time, we'd like to do it with 4-year type players, and we've occasionally recruited some junior college players. But basically, we're going to do it with 4-year type of recruits. We're going to do it with people who, one, have some integrity. They understand a little bit about honesty, loyalty. They understand about work ethics. And we have to get players that are going to want to come in here and be committed to our basketball program, to our staff, to Ohio University, and are going to work to get better while they're here. We're not going to be able to recruit a lot of top 20 or top 50 type players. Those people are probably going to go to the more prestigious type conferences. Occasionally we'll get 1 or 2 of those. That's all we have to get, is 1 every couple of years. And then you surround them with players who are going to develop and improve while they're here, get stronger, improve their skills, learn how to play within the system, and become great competitors. And you mold them together as a team, and now you can go compete with a lot of people.
What's the ideal traits that you look for in a basketball player when at the high school level as you're beginning to decide whether or not you're interested in even considering recruiting them?
Well, I'd like to have them all be over 6'10". I'd like to have them all weigh about 280 pounds and be strong and quick and athletic and have great hands and great feet. And, well, you physically look at their physical attributes, and depending on the position you're looking for. And I said that in jest a little bit because I think there's not always just because you have great quickness or great explosiveness or those things does that make you a great basketball player. I look a lot for hands and feet, for people who know the game, know how to think the game, and know how to play the game of basketball. And those things are very, very key also. But so you have to have a combination of those things. But then you look for character. You look for, and that's where you can't see that when you're evaluating somebody out there in the summer, watching, hundreds of kids play. You can basically just evaluate raw talent and some of those other attributes we mentioned physically. That's where you have to get on the phone and talk to the coach and find people who actually know those people. It might be a teacher, or it might be a guidance counselor. It might be an AAU coach, someone who really knows that person, the family background. Maybe there's been an older brother or an older sister that you can see how they how successful they are in life and what kind of attributes they brought to the table. But you're looking for people who are going to have stick-to-itiveness, great work ethics, as I mentioned earlier, people who are going to not give in to a little frustration and a little failure, because we're all going to go through that, believe it or not. And guys are just going to be very, very committed to and be happy to be at Ohio University and take advantage of the opportunities that are provided here.
When do you decide that you want to actually have conversation with a potential player and his parents and invite them to camp? How many times do you go see them before you decide you want to do that?
Well, there are a number of NCAA rules, and wow, that's why you have compliance officers, because they're constantly changing. At every convention in January, there's new rules, and there's a manual about this thick that you have to stay abreast of, or you'll violate some rule somewhere. But basically, the rules are that we can, a prospect is someone who is started their freshman year in high school, and that's what you call a recruitable student athlete. We can start sending them letters at that time. We cannot write to them other than sending them an initial questionnaire and an initial introductory letter. We can't write them more regularly than until they're September of 1, after their junior year has started, and then we can write them, unlimited. And there's only certain types of letters we can write, certain types of mailings that we can send out. You can't start calling them until July 1, after their junior year, and you're allowed one call per week. You can't go making a visit into their home until after September of their senior year, and you can only do that during certain what we call contact periods. And you can only you're not allowed to bring them to campus for what we call an official. An official visit's a paid visit where we actually pay for the visit, pay for the transportation. We can feed them, house them on our campus. You can't do that until after their senior year has begun. So there are a number of restrictions that try to control this recruiting process, because it's absolutely maddening.
Well, stay tuned. Larry and I will return after this commercial break. When we return, I want to ask Larry about the importance of scheduling to a basketball program and how he competes against the Ohio States. Welcome back to Straightforward Conversation. Larry, before the break, I was about to ask you about scheduling and the importance of scheduling in developing a big-time program. Is there a correlation between the scheduling and whether or not your program is perceived to be a quality program?
Well, I think your word, when you use the word perceive, I think perception is reality, and no question about it. And my approach when I came to Ohio University is that I want us to be the best we can be. And we have above in our locker room, one of our rooms, our meeting room, we have above the grease board there in the locker room, we have a big sign that says "Commitment to Excellence." And that's really what we're all about. I wrote a manual a number of years ago that, in that manual, it talks about what we expect from our athletes, in study table, academic commitment, behavior, whatever. But I think as it relates to scheduling, we're not going to be afraid to play anybody almost any place. And for us to get into the NCAA tournament, obviously our primary goal is to win the Mid-American Conference championship, and basically you have to win the Mid-American Conference postseason tournament, because that's the only automatic bid you have to get into the NCAA tournament, which gives you an opportunity to win a national championship. And I'm a dreamer, and you know that, Gary, and I think big, and I don't see why you can't, at Ohio University, at some point, and it's not going to be as easy to do here as it might be in some other situations, but at some point get everything going together, and you get that special group of players who have that special commitment, and they have those special talents that you can do something of that magnitude. And you know what? A year ago we had that type of basketball team, and we won a form of a national championship in that preseason NIT championship that we won there at the start of the 1994-95 season. And those special things can happen here. Now we got to do it in the NCAA tournament, but. We've taken our team overseas to Europe. We've played Ohio State 3 times since I've been here. We played Kentucky 3 times since I've been here. West Virginia 3 times. Iowa 3 times. We beat Connecticut out in the Hawaiian Classic. Won that Hawaiian Classic 3 years ago. Won the Stanford tournament. We've done some pretty special things. We're in the Great Alaskan Shootout this past year. We've challenged our. I think if we're going to elevate our recruiting and attract higher caliber of student athletes to be able to do what we'd like to do, we have to challenge them with a schedule. for us to do that, we can't buy, we don't have the resources here to buy a lot of those people to come into Athens and play in a convocation center. How I'd like to have that happen. It would help our record, I know for sure, but we sort of have to go play on their terms a little bit. So we play some games with some of those people where there's not an exchange, no home and home is what I'm talking about, where they won't come back into Athens, or we'll play them a 2 for a 1, or we'll just play them for a guarantee, which sometimes we have to do.
Well, Larry, I want to have you summarize in about 30 seconds or less the final question I have for you, and that is one that's often asked of basketball programs: is winning everything?
Is winning everything? Well, you know, it's certainly at this level, there's pressure to win. I don't really, you know, I've been in it 25 years now. This is my 20th year as a head coach. I really don't think in those terms. Obviously, you know, I think if you have a good program, it's based in integrity, it's based in solid, you know, foundations of how you recruit people, how you work with them, the teaching. The winning's going to take care of itself to a degree. You know, you can't factor in injuries, illnesses, you know, other outside, you know, problems that will occur, you know, in any program. But we're going to continue to try to recruit the best players we can. We're going to work our heads off with them once they get here. Try to recruit people that are going to, you know, be committed to getting their degree here and being good basketball players, and hopefully the wins will come with that, and I think they will.
Well, thank you, Larry. This has been an interesting conversation tonight, as always, with you. This has been Straightforward Conversation with Larry Hunter tonight, and good evening.